All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are diving into something really, really cool, a top-secret cybersecurity drill they called Redirection Hell. We're going to deconstruct exactly how a new kind of defense system can fight an enemy, not by being stronger, but by being completely invisible.
Okay, so here's how we're going to break this down. First, we'll get a handle on the drill itself. Then, we'll unpack the secrets behind its defense. We're talking an invisible handshake, a digital labyrinth for attackers, some mind-bending performance data, and finally, the ultimate verdict on this so-called untouchable network. So this really gets to the heart of the problem that the system, AegisNet, was designed to solve. I mean, it's a pretty radical idea, right? Instead of just building a bigger, stronger wall, what if you could make the wall just disappear? You'd leave the attackers just swinging at thin air. Now, this wasn't your average everyday test. The logs show this was done under what they call global availability constraints. The best way to think about that is it's the digital version of stress testing a brand new battleship in the middle of a Category 5 hurricane, just to see if it even flinches. The secret sauce here is this concept called branchless kinetic enforcement. Most code is full of if this, then that logic. It creates all these different branches that an attacker can map out. Well, this system just gets rid of them. It creates one perfectly smooth, flat, linear path. For an attacker, trying to analyze that is trying to find a doorknob on a perfectly seamless sphere. Where do you even begin?
So, let's move into the first phase and see how this actually works. How on earth does the system check if a command is legitimate without giving away any of its secrets while it's doing it?
Okay, this authentication process is just fascinating. A command kicks off inside a secure little bubble, and then the system rebuilds its crypto key in what it calls a zero-branch fashion. What that means is there are no decision points, no breadcrumb trail for an attacker to follow. It's just a single, instantaneous, unbreakable action. The system's signature is completely hidden. And the result of that? Well, authentication is confirmed in just 82 microseconds. I mean, that is so ridiculously fast. No monitoring tool on the planet could possibly react in time. The door is locked, bolted, and welded shut before an attacker even knows there is a door. So what happens when an unauthorized presence is found? The system doesn't just block it or drop the connection. No, it does something way more clever. It basically says, "Come on in." This line from the log file, it just captures the whole philosophy of redirection hell perfectly. It isn't about building a wall to keep things out. It's about creating a digital house of mirrors for data packets. And once they're inside, believe me, there is no way out. So let's break down how this trap works. First, a rogue signal gets intercepted. Then it gets wrapped in what the log calls a flow-K hyperbolic mesh. You can just think of it as a super complex mathematical cage. And finally, that caged packet gets tossed into a secure sandbox where it just loops forever. The threat isn't destroyed, it's just neutralized, caught in an infinite loop for all eternity. Now, you might be wondering what keeps this trap from getting overwhelmed. Well, the log points to a technique called NTT-based polynomial masking as the key. In simple terms, this is what makes sure the trap never ever slows down. You could throw 1 million hostile packets at it, 1 billion, and the redirection speed for every single one stays exactly the same. The trap is, for all intents and purposes, infinitely scalable. Okay, so the theory sounds amazing, right? But now we get to the proof. It's one thing to have a great idea, but the logs gave us the hard data from the drill, and it shows just how revolutionary this thing really is. But before we get to the numbers, let's just recap this fundamental shift in thinking. The old way was like a maze, full of predictable paths an attacker could figure out. The new, branchless way, it's a perfectly smooth surface. There are no features, no logic, no tells for an attacker to grab onto.
And wow, the results are staggering. Just look at the redirection latency. It's more than twice as fast. And neighbor DFS suppression, which is basically a measure of how well it blocks nearby threats, it jumps from 92% to a near perfect 99.8%. Every single metric shows a completely game-changing improvement. But honestly, this chart right here is the real gut punch. Look at that drop in CPU jitter, from over 4% down to practically 0. This tells us the system isn't just faster, it's incredibly stable. It's hardened. It operates with this almost silent, perfectly consistent rhythm, which makes it even harder for anyone to detect. So, what does this all add up to? Let's turn to the final log entry from the drill's director, a woman named Velma Hawthorne, for the official verdict on Redirection Hell. This powerful summary, it just says it all. The neighbors, that's the attackers,
All of their attempts to probe, to attack, to get data, they're all just getting redirected into that infinite loop. They are literally trapped inside a void that they created the second they launched the attack.
And that is the ultimate takeaway. The final log entry is crystal clear. This new branchless architecture has created a defense that is, by its very nature, completely untouchable by conventional means.
And that leaves us with one last pretty provocative thought. If a defense system has no attack surface, no timing signatures to analyze, and no branches to map out, what does that even mean for the future of cybersecurity? It kind of suggests the entire concept of a digital attack might have to be completely reimagined.